The darkness that the solar eclipse brought was not only in the sky, it descended silently upon the hearts of many. There are connections being tested, truths coming to light, and a strange sense of loss, even without goodbyes. If you have felt a recent emptiness, an unexplained withdrawal, or an emotional turmoil that has knocked you off your feet, this is no accident. The eclipse opened portals, but also closed cycles, and what is left now is the invisible shadow, asking to be understood. This shadow is not punishment, it is revelation. It is as if the universe had pulled back the veil that covered everything you pretended not to see, or that the other pretended not to feel. And at that moment, the absence of light reveals more than the light itself. Many connections have been shaken. Silences became more intense. Emotional distances grew like invisible walls. It's not just you. There is something greater at work, behind this sense of abandonment or confusion that has taken over your energy field. The eclipse stirred the deepest emotions, those that had been locked for years in forgotten places of your being. The divine feminine is being activated in an intense way. Your intuition, your dreams, your fears, everything is screaming for alignment. The eclipse came as a necessary energetic disruption. He deprogrammed what no longer served, even if it hurt. And maybe that's why that connection that seemed unshakable suddenly feels cold. Perhaps the other moved away, not because of heartbreak, but because he did not know how to cope with the reflection that you represent. You have become a mirror of truths that he is not yet ready to face. And when the light fades, it is in the darkness that he feels the weight of all that he has avoided. But beware, this darkness is not the end. She is transitional. The eclipse may have brought silence, but it also made room for rebirths. What has been revealed now can no longer be ignored. You have been pushed out of an illusion to finally see clearly. If you feel like you missed something, perhaps what he lost was just the illusion of control. Because what is true remains, even in absence. What is ego disappears in darkness. What is soul endures, even when everything seems to be over. This is the time to trust your inner light. The darkness of the eclipse was collective, but the response is individual. What are you going to do with what's left? Will you retreat into fear, or will you rise with awareness? The darkness left by the solar eclipse was not just a side effect of the movement of the stars. It was a deep reset in the subtlest layers of your emotional and spiritual field. There are things that you could no longer sustain, but still tried to carry. Relationships that were hung by old promises, by emotional bonds of the past, or by projections that no longer had a real basis. The eclipse came as a watershed. He tore off these ties, even if quietly, even if from the inside. And now what's left is the echo, the void, the absence, the feeling that something has been lost. But you still don't know exactly what. And that loss is real, not necessarily in the physical world, but within you. The eclipse messed with his perception of time and truth. What once seemed clear is now hazy. That intense, deep, almost telepathic connection you felt with someone, it suddenly seems to be gone. But is it really gone? Or are you tapping into a deeper layer of truth? The absence of such a person is not only a physical distance, it is a reflection of the internal disconnection that she herself lives. He or she has moved away because he or she is lost. And you, even unintentionally, became a mirror. Healing mirror. Mirror of pain. Mirror of everything that this person does not yet know how to handle. And here lives the root of the shadow that the eclipse activated. Because the divine feminine, when it comes into alignment, becomes an inevitable force. Your energy begins to vibrate at such a high frequency that those who are unprepared begin to feel threatened, not for you, but for the light you emanate. And the eclipse, by temporarily obscuring that light, showed who stayed connected even in the dark. It showed who is able to continue feeling the soul, even when the eyes no longer see the way. This is the spiritual test that is ongoing, and he is not small. He is demanding from you courage not to cling to what has fallen apart, wisdom not to run after immediate answers, and confidence to keep the faith even when everything seems to be silent. The universe is reconfiguring routes. What you are experiencing now is not punishment, it is preparation. The pain is just the gap between what you were and what you are becoming. The eclipse ripped out the inner lies, the repetitive patterns, the karmic cycles. And what's left now is you, emotionally naked, ready to rebuild yourself from the inside out. Maybe that's why you've been feeling strangely tired, or body aches for no apparent reason, or that inexplicable desire to isolate oneself, to disappear for a while, to be silent. This is your body trying to process the emotional density that has been released. Your soul has been exposed to a very intense, energetic recalibration, and even if the other did not say anything, even if you did not receive explanations, feel it. Understand. He is also feeling everything. He just can't name. He just doesn't know how to get back. He is in shock with the truth itself. And maybe I need to lose myself from you now in order to be able to find myself further ahead. But do not get lost together. Use this darkness to turn on your own light. The eclipse came to remind us that every shadow only exists because there is light somewhere, and that light is yours. It's within you. And now that it's all gone, what's left is real. What is left is essence. What's left, it is the foundation on which you can build the new. The solar eclipse left invisible scars on the collective psyche, but mostly on the most sensitive, most connected souls like yours. And it is at this moment, where everything seems too quiet, that the real work begins. Because the absence of external responses forces you to plunge into inner silence. You realize that nothing else on the outside will fill this hole that has opened up. It's no longer about the other. It's about you. About the parts of you that were still waiting to be chosen, to be understood, to be saved by someone who doesn't even know how to save himself. This post-eclipse darkness has a function. It's teaching you to stop running away from yourself. The eclipse has disabled distractions. It put a symbolic end to everything that kept you in stagnant cycles, but that you called love, connection, twin flame. Love does not paralyze, connection does not confuse, and a real soulmate does not abandon you in the middle of the storm. What was taken out of his life in that period was what was in misalignment with his next version, and as much as it hurts, you feel deep down. It's time to grow up. It's time to go beyond waiting. And the other? Where is he in all this? Confused, paralyzed, surrounded by fears that you have already transmuted long ago. He saw in you the truth that he tries to hide from himself, and the eclipse revealed this truth forcefully, revealed how much he still needs to heal before he can find you soul to soul. And maybe that's why he walked away, not out of malice, not out of disinterest, but for incapacity. He does not know how to cope with the intensity of the light that you carry, not yet. And this is where many get confused, believing that the absence of the other is a lack of love. But sometimes withdrawal is protection. Sometimes it is the soul saying, I still cannot keep up with you, and to make you wait for me would be cruelty. Only this is not a final sentence. It's a break, a sacred interval, a space of reconfiguration, because the one who really feels it comes back. And true love does not disappear. It transforms, matures, resurfaces with more root. But for that to happen, you need to do your part now. The eclipse showed what was unbalanced, but the cure depends on your choice. Are you going to keep orbiting around a connection that only delivers you energetic crumbs? Or will it raise your vibration to the point of becoming unattainable for everything that is not reciprocal? This moment requires spiritual courage. It is not time to look for answers in the gestures of the other, in social networks, in unsent messages. It's time to look inside, to remember who you are, beyond the pain, to strengthen your energy center, especially your heart chakra, which was exposed and vulnerable with this rupture. Perform rituals of liberation, write letters that will not be sent, take baths with coarse salt and rosemary, meditate with amethyst on the chest. All this is not only symbolic, it is spiritual, it's practical. It is real healing happening on the energetic plane, and most importantly, do not back down. You are in the process of rebirth. The soul is shedding old skins, and this is uncomfortable even. But it's that discomfort that proves to you that you're breaking out of a pattern. Who is choosing herself? That she's ready to accept no less than she deserves, even if it means walking alone for a while. Because conscious loneliness is more healing than the company that fragments you. The eclipse has placed you in its own shadow, and she only looks scary because she's intense, but within it lives its strength, your intuition, your truth. You do not need to fear this moment, you need to cross it, with dignity, with delivery, with faith. The solar eclipse is not just a visual spectacle in the skies, it is a cosmic alignment of immense energetic power. When the sun is obscured by the moon, what occurs is more than a physical light blockage. It is a symbolic realignment between the conscious, sun, and the unconscious, moon. It is as if, for a few minutes, our outer essence, who we believe ourselves to be, is silenced, making room for emotions, patterns, fears, and hidden truths to surface. On the spiritual plane, this opens portals. And portals, when they open, destabilize ancient structures. For souls who carry intense connections, especially soul connections, twin flame connections, or deep karmic relationships, this type of event is like a silent earthquake. You may not notice it at the exact moment it happens, but over the next few days, everything starts to fall apart from the inside. And that's where the real work begins. The eclipse stirs up what was stagnant. He brings to the surface emotions that were dormant, old traumas, unresolved ties, attachments that disguise themselves as love, and the strongest, it reveals the truth of connection. It is at this point that many realize the remoteness of the other. People who were in constant contact disappear. Souls that seemed energetically linked in an indestructible way suddenly seem disconnected. But this is not a final breakup. It's a calling, a pause imposed by spirituality so that both sides can reevaluate what they are doing with this connection. The energy of the solar eclipse is intense because it messes with the ego. She confronts him. And in soul connections, the ego is the greatest enemy of true flow. As long as there is pride, fear, the need for control or denial of one's own vulnerability, the connection suffers. This is why the eclipse seems to cut off something, because it is removing what is blocking the flow between the two souls. Sometimes that means withdrawal. Sometimes that means silence. But it always means healing, even if it temporarily feels like abandonment. And here comes the pain of the divine feminine, because the one who carries this energy, regardless of gender, is usually the one who feels it the most, who notices before, who intuits what is happening even without any concrete explanation. And that's confusing. It's lonely. You feel that something has changed, but the other does not speak. You try to understand, but silence is bigger than your voice. And this feeling of rejection is activated with force by the eclipse. It is as if the universe pushes you into its own shadow, so that you learn to love yourself even when the other does not appear. So you recognize your value even when the connection seems lost. Spiritually, the eclipse creates a vibrational field conducive to karmic cuts. And this does not mean that the connection is over, but it does mean that the unhealthy parts of her are being ripped out. If your relationship was based on emotional dependence, projection, or flight, the eclipse will disintegrate that structure. Because the next phase of this journey requires truth. It requires reciprocity. It demands conscious surrender. And if one of the two is not ready, the universe separates to align. This detachment, however painful, is a gift in disguise. It forces you to look at yourself no longer as half of a link, but as a complete being. It forces you to take responsibility for your healing process. And when you start doing this movement, something subtle changes in the field. The connection begins to transform, because it is no longer sustained by lack, but by choice. And the soul feels. The soul of the other feels. Even in silence, even far away, he knows. Something inside him is also being touched. But everyone has their time. and you cannot sacrifice yourself waiting for the other's time. It must be remembered. Eclipses are cosmic restarts. They take us where we should be, not where we want to be. They break fantasies, but reveal purposes. And if that connection you carry is true, it will pass that test. It will mature. It will be reborn. But only after the shadows are recognized and transmuted. This moment requires presence, meditation, internal silence, respect for the process. And faith, do not expect immediate answers. The eclipse began a healing cycle that can last weeks, even months. But trust, nothing that is yours by divine right will be lost. The soul recognizes.